All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I have the same thing every time. I got to mix up my MMA intro. Not many watch Thursday night, a lot Friday morning, Saturday. But whenever you're watching, hope your day is going well. 13 fights on tap. Back in the Apex is the UFC. I don't love the Apex. I like fans. Brings more enjoyment. I do like 13 fights, though. 12 is the magic number. 13 is greater than 12. An interesting card in terms of, I think it's tricky for DFS. I'm definitely curious on some of your stars, some of your thoughts on it. 7 of the 13 are expected to finish. 6 of the 13 have a favorite greater than minus 300. So initially, I haven't even thrown it to you, but I'm going to get right into my broad slate. I'll say hi to you. You can say your broad slate, and then we'll just get into it right away. My broad slate is I'm going to have 100% of the main event in 20 entry and below. Has the highest inside the distance prop. DraftKings doesn't account for the extra 5 rounds. Hard to see it not scoring great, but also there's only 2 mid-tier fights, both expected to go the distance. A lot of the favorites, big favorites, have upside. I'm not going to be chasing ceiling as much as the underdogs. Obviously, I want it. I think certain spots, certain dogs have more upside than others. But if I'll sign up for 75 points at 7,200 this week. I think that could be enough on this card. So that's my broad slate. Ben's in here. Hebrew Cheetah, what's going on? NBA final slate just locked, so you are good until Thursday. Enjoy that break, brother. How you doing, Big Marley?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Not as good as you, coming off $13,000 win for the Super Bowl. Congrats to you.
Thank you, sir.
That was awesome to see. So hopefully you got a nice big bankroll that you can just take over for this 12-week stretch we still have.
Let's do it.
MMA. But yeah, I think that I haven't really had a ton of time to think about this card since I just did all my predictions earlier in the week. But yeah, I do think it is kind of maybe a tougher slate. Just because I only have one 5-star fight, which is weird. And if I was going to pick a second one, I think there's a couple of my 4 stars I'd be okay with, but I don't even know what my second favorite fight on this card would be. So I do think everyone will flock to that 5-round fight, and then it probably won't get too crazy anywhere else. So could be a good one. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. I did 150 last card. I don't think it worked out well for me, but maybe I'll run that back because I tried to build a single entry, and I didn't love it. So I don't know what the plan will be, but hopefully we can make it a good one.
For sure. I'll be MMEing this week. I live bet. Oh, gosh, this is weird. Bad, weird, everything. I live bet Bellato against Jimmy Crute after round 1, just hoping it wasn't 10-8, which in hindsight, I think it was a bad bet. But turns out a couple fights later, when it's all said and done, I needed Jimmy Crute to win the decision, and I would have shipped with 4 other people $38,000. So it's just all the emotions. I had no clue what to cheer for. Would have taken the $38,000 and the $7,000 loss on the live bet. I was happy in the moment that it pushed. I got my money back. But then I didn't get the shipper. So I'm going to run it right back, though. Assuming we keep all 13 fights, I think this is a really good MME card because ownership will be spread out outside of the 5-round fight. I will eat the chalk in the 5-rounder. I think it's good chalk. And we're going to go from there. I think there's other spots. Ownership eats each other. Should all stay relatively in check. Can always leave money. Find leverage spots when we go through it. Last thing I want to mention, that main event, Strickland-Dricus, was not on the winner. That just shows right there. There's a lot of variance in MMA. A lot of things can happen. So just wanted to point that out. You never know in this sport at the end of the day, which makes it a lot of fun. You can get uncomfortable, and usually when you get uncomfortable, that is what leads to the biggest payouts. But let's go bottom to top. What I will say, too, last thing before we do it, this Jared Gordon, Ruzi Boy fight was added late. I didn't see it on Tapology on Monday or Tuesday, actually, when I put all the initial stuff in the stone. So I threw it all the way at the bottom. It was easiest for me to do. That is not the correct bout order, though. I'm going to go based on the bout order we're looking at the stone. That is not the exact one, though. So if you're someone out there that I hate playing the first fight because I don't want to be burned, which I think that's awful strategy, This is not the exact one. So go to Tapology.com. The UFC fight poster comes out. You can see it there. But for our sake, we're going to go to bottom to top on this fight on the stone. So the first fight of the night, even though it's not, Jared Gordon taking on Masharban Ruziboyev. Minus 330 is Gordon. Plus 270 is Ruziboyev. We don't have an inside that this is prop on any site but one I'm seeing, which is minus 138. We do have under 2.5 at minus 120. Open plus 120 on 2 days ago. So Tuesday is when the lines dropped. Plus 120 under 2.5. Now minus 120. Some juice on the under, which you like to see for DFS. Take it away. What are you doing in this one?
Yeah, so this is the Ruziboyev one, right?
Correct. I'm going based off the stone, top to, or bottom to top.
Yeah, I just looked into it a couple hours ago. Tough to tell what we're going to get from Ruziboyev. He hasn't fought in like a year and a half. I watched probably 6 fights that would total under like a minute and a half combined. So he's got a lot of early finishes. I do think he's the more dangerous fighter in the first round. But I don't know what he's going to look like after the first round. I really don't like his minute winning ability either in that first round. I feel like he's a big leg kick guy, throws heavy right hands, but then it's just kind of sloppy. Like, he gets a finish or it just doesn't look great in my opinion. So I think Gordon is the clear better minute winner really in every round. But after round 1, I feel like he cruises. But he's got to make it through that first round. Ruziboyev is dangerous. He could knock him out, or he could submit him. I saw at least 3 or 4 submissions from bottom from this guy. So it wouldn't shock me to see him finish Gordon in the first round, score 100 plus points here, and break the slate. But if he doesn't do that, I think he loses. And then I don't know what Gordon's going to score. He could go anywhere from like 75 to like 130, in my opinion. Just kind of depends on how much Ruziboyev slows down and how much Gordon looks to wrestle. So big range on the Gordon side, and Ruziboyev is a guy who could just break the slate, but I don't really know how good he is. He did. I didn't even know his brother was the other Ruziboyev, but he kind of did remind me of that. A little sloppier, like not as technical on the feet, but a lot of early fast finishes. And I did see his brother come out after one of the fights, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense why he got signed now, knowing that he is his brother and he hadn't fought in a year and a half. So I don't know. I think the line could be a little bit wide because that first round might be a sweat. But if he makes it past the first round, I feel real good about Gordon winning.
I'm glad I threw it to you first. You saved me a lot of wind in my pipes because I echo the same thing you said, which makes both of them good plays. If I'm just watching the show and I have no clue about MMA, and you said the dog Ruziboyev, who's 7,200 or 7K, excuse me, has 100-point upside of first round knockout, obviously I want to play that. I'm gonna. For Jared Gordon, you said very wide range of outcomes. He could get 75, he could get 130. I love that for DFS. 130 points is guaranteed to be optimal pretty much. Obviously, you don't want 75. That's why I do prefer MMEing, make a portfolio, etc. But I agree with everything because who knows? Ruziboyev is beat up on cans. Most of his wins are in the first round. He's taken this fight on short notice. Gordon was supposed to fight Quay Fernandez, so he's had a camp. He already has good cardio. You see on the stone right here, good volume, can mix in takedowns, more of a junkyard dog. And the worst thing about Jared Gordon is his chin. He's been knocked out in 4 of his 7 losses. He's been knocked out. That's great for Ruziboyev. Round 1 upside. If he doesn't get it in round 1, I think Gordon takes over too. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Gordon took over from the jump and he was just that much better. Ruziboyev has fought bad competition, but I'm on both of these guys for DFS. And looking at ownership, Gordon will get some, but there's like 5-6 guys in the upper tier that'll all kind of get some ownership. We have one person above 40 besides the main event, but even I wouldn't be surprised if the main event, both guys are above 40, or at least Gregory, and then nobody else is above 40 after that. And that's a really good DFS card. Gordon, we have about 28%, 130 upside at 28%. I'm definitely in. So yeah, Ruziboyev can slow down. If he gets a first round knockout, I'll be happy because I'll play him. If he slows down, Gordon gets an optimal, I'll be happy as well. This is a fight I do want to get overweight on to start it off.
Yeah, I just changed it to a 4-star. I did these stars right before we started. So maybe I'll change them as we go along, but I think that does make more sense as a 4-star.
I'm really, this is a lot of the time I feel good about where I'm at, and I do kind of right now, but I'm debating like 3-4 guys between like fade or fighters, not just guys, fade, underweight, etc. So this is when I really wanted to talk through all these fights with you. Probably changes will be made on my slate plan as well in terms of tags. But again, all that will be out tomorrow. Projections, ownership, everything is Shiptimizer, etc. Again, like button, subscribe button also helps us out a ton. What's going on, YSN? What's going on? Easy bets. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Next fight on the card, Gabriel Bonfim taking on Chaos Williams. Minus 211 Bonfim, plus 181 is Chaos. Minus 200 for this fight to finish. Plus 110 inside the distance for Bonfim. Plus 275 for Chaos. Looking at the stone, minus 200. That is one of the best inside the distance props on the slate. Again, 7 of the 13 supposed to finish. Minus 200, one of the best. Take this fight away. You have it as the 4-star. That is one of the highest you have on this slate.
Yeah, I think any Bonfim fight has a chance of being a 4 or 5-star. Just mainly with the Bonfim side, he's super aggressive early. He's a finisher, whether it be a knockout or submission in that first round. And usually, or I guess all of his wins were finishes up until that last one. And we didn't really know what his tank would look like if he went all three. He kind of proved that he can do it, but he can't do it at the same speed as he is when he's going out there being really aggressive in that first round. So it's like a big ceiling for him if he's going to go out there and get the first round finish, of course. And I'd say he has a higher chance than a lot of other fighters of getting that. But I don't like his wrestling upside after the first round. I don't like his knockout upside after the first half of the fight. And I think Chaos is a guy who has a chin, who could eat that, or who could weather that early storm, and he could carry his power later into the fight. Where also he has big power early in the fight too. So this fight could end either way in the first 60 seconds. We get a slate breaking 125 pointer here. After the 60 seconds, I feel like Bonfim's more dangerous throughout the first round. But then the second and the third round, maybe that's Chaos's round, especially if the takedowns aren't coming for Bonfim and it's a striking match. I'd rather put my money on the underdog in this fight. So I'm picking Chaos to get the win. I think it could be a first-round knockout. It could be a third-round knockout, which either I do think would put him on the optimal lineup. A decision, though, maybe we're flirting with the 70s, and that's when I don't know. But you started out the pod saying you'd probably be okay with that.
I'd take it.
Yeah, and I was thinking that in my head too. Like, let's give Chaos 75 points. He still made my show, so I'll take 75 this week as well. Yeah,
for sure. I like what you said. Like my preferred side, I think, is Chaos too. I don't love too many dogs on this card. We play a salary-based game. He's very live. You think he's live too on the feet? Like, it could be a pick 'em. I'm not sure exactly how it'd go on the feet. Both guys throw solid volume. Chaos has more one-shot power. Why Bonfim is the favorite is he definitely has the wrestling advantage if someone was to wrestle. And that, again, why I will have some Bonfim, because if he does wrestle, he doesn't like the power early. He has success. Wrestling in DraftKings is a cheat code, and he's plus 110 to finish? And he's plus 110 to finish. Actually, what's his submission? All the way down. Open, actually, not all the way. Open plus 225. Now it's plus 200. If he wins, I think sub is very live. And that's like probably what he needs to be optimal, because it means he's wrestling. Chaos takedown defense hasn't been bad by any means. Not many have tried to take him down, though. I think that'll be a very interesting. I think we know early. Is he going to wrestle? Is he going to get it down? If he does, he like completely gassed against Dolby when he did use this heavy wrestling approach in round one. I'll have some for the upside, but the upper tier is like strong. There's a lot of guys I think can score well. I don't love the bottom tier too much. So that's naturally, I think, going to have me more overweight on Chaos than Bonfim there. Let's keep it going. Next fight on the card, the closest line and price fight, minus 110 each side. Angela Hill taking on Ketlin Souza, plus 350 for this fight to finish, plus 550 for the Souza side, plus 625 for the Angela Hill side. Money or line movement in this one, Angela Hill opened minus 300. Now it's a pick-up. That is a lot of line movement. Another thing that stood out to me when looking at the stone, 40 years old for Angela Hill. Right away I looked, I'm like, this has to be the easiest fight fade. Like minus 500 to go the distance, awful inside the distance props. But the more I looked at it, Angela Hill can be in sneaky fights. She just could throw a ton of volume, get downhill. When she has the wrestling grappling advantage, like sometimes she ends up on top. She can do solid work. She has good cardio. She's just a junkyard dog at the end of the day. She scored 100 plus in her last 3 wins, Big Marley. Absolutely insane. 2 of them kind of were because of takedowns. She did get a submission in one. But if you can score 100 plus in a striking based decision, which she's done, I am going to keep her in the pool. She is my preferred play. I'm picking her to win. I really want your thoughts on this, though, because I don't quite know what to do with Souza yet. So, yeah, I see you having a 2-star. What you doing?
Yeah, I think my plan is just I faded Souza last time, and it cost me, that's for sure. But I'm just going to go back to the well. I really don't think we should be banking on knockouts in this weight class, that's for sure. And I don't think she's a good enough wrestler to really put up a big score on Hill in a win. So I think even if Souza wins, I doubt she hits 10x. If Hill wins, I do think she hits 10x, and she's got 100-point upside just with all the volume that she throws. She's got to win all 3 rounds for that to happen. Like, it can't be a close fight. She's got to walk away with it, which makes me not really like her either. But yeah, she's the one that's going to be in my pool. I'll have her as a 4-star, Souza as the 2-star. Souza being a fade, Hill's just someone I'm fine with being in my lineups, but I'm not going to make it a point at all because I do think it'll be somewhat close. I do think it depends on how much Hill has really fallen off at this point. I think she is on the decline towards the end of her career, but she hasn't shown a massive decline, and especially massive enough for me to think she's going to lose minutes to Souza. So yeah, I'm pretty much Hill or pass on this one.
I like it. We're on the same side there, and by no means do I like Hill.
40 years old now? Jesus.
Yeah. By no means do I love Hill or this fight, but it's going to be one of the lowest owned on the card, combined ownership. That's always nice to have. The mid-tier is awful. It's only this fight and the Sadikov fight against Ismail Bonfim, which that fight will be higher owned, and that fight's also expected to go the distance. So, again, 8,200. I've seen 100 plus from her in a decision win because of volume. That's enough to keep her in the pool at low ownership on a card I don't love upside, but you're still parlaying getting a coin flip fight right and the most likely fight to go the distance of the card actually scoring enough to be optimal. So when you all say it like that, it's not a great fight to target. That's why we have it a 2-star. That's why it will be low owned. I'll be on the Hill side, though. If someone does break the slate, I do hope it is her. Let's keep it rolling. Next fight on the card, one of the biggest favorites. Rafael Estevam taking on Jesus Aguiar. Minus 450 Estevam, plus 350 is Aguiar. Minus 150 for this fight to finish. Or minus 140, excuse me. Estevam plus 100. Aguiar plus 560 inside the distance. Rafael Estevam, unless he gets caught in a guillotine, is my pick.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably pretty right. Although I do think Aguilar could get takedowns of his own and do well in top control. It'd probably be later in the fight if that's going to happen. Estevan might need to slow down, but I do think Estevan is our better wrestler and the better striker. It's just how much is he going to slow down? Is he going to look to wrestle against a guy who's a good grappler? I don't know what to expect on this Estevam side. And it's been a year and a half since he's been in there. And he gassed hard in that last fight too.
He shot for 22 takedowns.
Oh, wow. Shot for 22. He only landed
3 for 22.
3.
I feel like
I don't love the
about
$300 price tag on Estevam. I think he could pay it off, but I probably go underweight on him. And then Aguilar, I'm not against Aguilar. I think he's going to be low owned. I think he's more live than Vegas does. And I think he's live to get a submission in any round. It could be first 60 seconds or the last 60 seconds. And I trust his cardio more too. He's had a 5th round submission before, and I don't think Estevam will be alive in the 5th round. So I guess my preferred play is Aguilar in this one, but to me, it's closer to a 2-star than it is a 4-star. Like, I'm not going to make it a point to target this fight. I'm fine with either one of them. But I think if Estevam wins, he scores under 10x. And then Aguilar loses more times than not. But if he does win, I think he breaks the slate more often than Estevam does.
Yeah, I have a lot more interest in Estevam than you, mainly because of the 22 takedowns, and he's plus 100 to finish. He was one of my favorite plays in the upper tier because, again, I mean, he opened plus 115 to finish, now plus 100. The fight's expected to finish, and the dude shot 22 takedowns. I just think there's plenty of upside in this one in a fight expected to finish. He is 9,300, but again, I actually like him more than Yusuf Zawal. I do think like Delgado's good, Shabazian's good, Bomb Theme Salad, Gordon. Like I'll be mixing and matching all them, but a guy that will shoot that many takedowns and is plus 100 to finish, I know I have interest in. The Aguilar side, though, I mean, I like it that you like it. I already had him overweight. He's going to be low owned. He just always lied for that guillotine. He almost guillotined Tatsuro Taira. Like that was really tight early. Taira's a monster. He stayed patient, got out. Stuart Nickel, last fight of his, highly touted guy, low owned Aguilar, guillotine breaks the slate right there. So I'm definitely going to play him. I'll note it right away. It's like people are just names on the screen for you. Then you turn on the fights and it's like, man, if I knew this about like, if I know he looked like this or he was this strong or this XYZ, I would have went with this guy. Well, Aguilar is one of the shortest dudes you will ever see for the division. 5'4", 62-inch reach. 4 inches for Esteban, 7 inches for Aguilar. So if you're a guy that's like, this guy's a midget compared to this guy, I would always take the bigger guy. Well, Esteban is your guy right there, but it's not how MMA necessarily works. I got nothing really more to add in that one. I think it'll be, again, I'm higher on this fight than you are, but I like Aguilar too. He's going to be a live dog I'm playing. I will have more Esteban than you. This next fight, I am not looking forward to one bit. Walter Walker minus 240 over Dontel Mays, plus 205 for Mays, plus 110 for this fight to finish. Walker plus 230 inside the distance. Dontel Mays plus 315. Walker's definitely my preferred DFS or play for DFS, even being 1,200 more because he has the wrestling upside. Mays not good off his back at all, can get taken down. You see the Walter 4.52 takedowns per 15. It's a small sample, so I don't expect that number to continue as his UFC career goes on. But Dontel Mays stinks. Like, dude that literally never does anything. Do you think he wins? Because if he wins, I'll take it at 7,500. I didn't plan on hitting an X button. At the end of the day, his inside the distance prop solid for the price. I don't think Walker's really good himself. But even if Dontel Mays somehow won 29-28 in the first round, he was only off his back, you legit could be looking at like a 50-point score. So Walker's still my preferred side because I think he can break the slate more times than Mays, but it is a $1,200 difference. So what are you doing?
Yeah. Walker's my preferred play. He's got all the upside. I do expect him to win the first round, especially if he wrestles. If he wrestles, I think he dominates the first round. Whether that be 1 to 3 takedowns, I do think it would be like 3.5 to 4.5 minutes of top control. So my worry with Walker is how much is he going to slow down if he comes in here with the wrestling game plan. If he slows down, I don't know if he can still put up a big score, even though he probably scores well in the first round. But I'm taking my chances at $8,700. He could finish in that first round. But if he learned from Gaston in that debut, and it can't be too hard to fucking wrestle 3 rounds against Dontel Mays. So I feel like if you're going to prove it, this is the time to do so. So I'd rather take my chances, go overweight to Walker. And then Mays, he's the better striker. He's a little more athletic, but he just never puts it all together. I'm not going to make it a point to get him in any lineups, but I'm not going to X him out of my player pool. I'm fine getting like 10% or so if that's what the Shiptimizer gives me, but I like clicking on guys that are cheaper than him instead. So if I make 150 and my first run gives me 0 Mays, cool with it. If it gives me 20% Mays, I'll probably look for a reason to get that a little bit lower, to be honest with you. But Walker, I want to be overweight on.
I like it. We see that fight pretty similar. Let's get to the next fight. This one I was definitely curious to hear your take on. We have a $9,100 Elijah Smith as a minus 145 favorite, taking on Vince Morales, who's plus 125, plus 195 for this fight to finish. Both guys the same inside the distance prop at plus 385. So $9,100, only minus 145 now. Both guys have a plus 385 inside the distance prop. I believe that leads to Vince Morales being the most popular dog outside of Jared Cannonier. To what number does that get to? I don't know. That's kind of what I wanted your take on. Right now, I think personally we're a little light. Like I'd be shocked if we were like Connor Matthews, I think is a good bit lower. You do have Bucka lower.
Yeah, I was going off the line I remembered from Tuesdays. I will be changing that.
Yeah, so let's just say he's like 27% owned. Again, I said I would take a 75 points from a cheap fighter on the card, but I would rather it not be a chalk favorite because 75 or chalk dog because 75 still might not be enough. I do think there's past Elijah Smith's a wrestler. Morales is a striker. If Smith can take him down and control him a bit and Morales wins 29-28, can that be 68 points? I don't know. And at the end of the day, he is still a dog. He's a lot better cash game play than a GPP play for me. I am forcing to play the main event, which will be chalky. So if I go main event, Morales, I already start 2 chalk spots. I do think it's a big enough card where I can get different elsewhere. So I'm not going to like exclude that or make it a rule not to. But at the end of the day, I don't love it. I don't love a chalk guy just because of the money line when I don't love his upside. I will say the under has taken some money as of late, plus 210, now plus 195. Both inside the distance have gotten a little better. And the Elijah Smith side, unless you talk me into it, it is really hard to click that button. It's a game theory play. But all of that being said, I guess, he is a primary wrestler for no ownership as a favorite, but not a big favorite, not a good inside the distance prop. So, yeah, really, really interested in your take on this one all around.
Yeah, I think it's one I'm mostly looking to avoid. I do think that Morales is a live underdog in a close fight, but I don't see any real ceiling for him unless it's an early knockout. Maybe he could land 1 to 3 takedowns like throughout the fight, but I don't think that's enough to give him even a decent score in a decision win. I don't see him dominating Smith anywhere. I actually think in the first round, Smith is more dangerous on the feet, and I think he's the better looking wrestler. I worry more about Smith's gas tank, though, so it'd probably be Morales winning the second and the third. But I liked him more when I was like, he's a live dog. Nobody's going to be on him. But now that line's a lot closer. People are going to be on him, and I don't like the fact that he's going to be chalky, and he probably has a 10x ceiling in a decision win. So I'm probably just switching my whole thought on this one where Morales would have been my preferred play earlier in the week. And I didn't think I'd be paying up for Smith that much, but if nobody's going to be on Smith, I could see him getting a first round knockout, breaking the slate. So maybe Smith's my preferred play in this one. Definitely wouldn't want to bet him. I don't trust him enough, but I think he's got the higher ceiling in the sport. He's only like 22 years old. So every time we see him, I expect him to be a little bit better the next time. So I think we know what we're getting with Morales at this point, and I don't love that. So yeah, let me take my chances on the young kid who's going to be unowned at this point.
I like it. I had this fight tagged as underweight both sides anyway. I'm going to keep it and feel good about it. I might have 10% Smith, and maybe that is overweight. Maybe it's with the field. Mainly it's just showing I don't love Elijah Smith, but you think he has first round knockout upside. I think he has wrestling upside. I mean, yeah, if he gets either of those, he could be optimal. I still don't love it, though. I'd use him in chalkier lineups. Morales, I don't want to fade a plus 125 dog when 75 might be enough on the optimal, but I'd rather take shots on some of these other guys at lower ownership with the higher ceiling. So if they do win, again, it's easier to get less dupes, etc., and they have upside. If no dogs win but Morales, you'll need him for that reason and stuff. I won't completely fade him, but I'll be picky and stuff, picky and choosy when I do play Morales, how I'm playing that lineup, since I do expect him to be the second chalkiest dog outside of Jared Cannonier. Let's keep it moving. It was an easy fight for me to talk about, but I got something for you. Jacqueline Cavalcante, minus 730. Julia Avila, plus 530. Plus 220 for this fight to finish. Cavalcante, plus 250 inside the distance. Avila, plus 875. So my initial thought, easiest fade of the slate. It's how I wrote it up, etc. Jacqueline, the highest priced, but also is the biggest favorite. Open minus 700. Got all the way down to minus 365. Now back up to minus 730. What catches my eye, though, the inside the distance prop. Plus 500, all the way now down to plus 250. Talk about someone else that'll be unknown in the top tier. It'll be Jacqueline. People will rather go Zalal for cheaper, Esteban for cheaper, Shabazian for cheaper, Gordon for cheaper, Delgado, Bonfim, Rodolfo Vieira, Gregory Rodrigues. Plus 250 is not bad. The problem is, like, she doesn't wrestle. She just throws strikes, a good amount of them. And also her inside the distance prop or first round prop, plus 775. Like, I don't even know if a second or third round knockout's enough for the optimal. It could be. It most definitely could be if she puts on a complete pace, gets a knockdown. But also, we're talking a women's division, 125. Can you talk me into any, or 135, excuse me. Can you talk me into any Jacqueline, a very low ownership? Otherwise, I did as a fight fade. Maybe I'll continue. But plus 250 is not terrible.
Nah, I'm not going to play her. I mean, if I had to sell you, it'd just be like, well, are you trying to win 100K solo?
Yeah.
Maybe she's your path to victory if something crazy happens. But yeah, if she gets a second round knockout at $9,500, it's probably not enough. So I'm gonna fade her. I'm gonna fade the whole fight. And I think Avila doesn't really have anything at this point in her career, especially on the feet. I feel like she should look to wrestle in this fight, but I don't think she's got enough wrestling in her cardio tank, or I don't even think she's a good enough wrestler to be able to win 2 rounds that way. I think she could maybe take 1. So I'm just gonna X them both out of my pool and make this a little smaller card, and let the other 15% pay the rake.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to keep that for 20 and below. If I'm playing like 40 or 50 plus, I think I might sprinkle some Calvin Conte. Like you just said, Avila has nothing on the feet. I don't think so either. I mean, she could tee off on her at the end of the day. Calvin Conte, that could be 36 years old, could be Julia's last fight. The problem is I just don't think Calvin Conte is like great herself by any means. Like there isn't many knockouts in this division. It's plus 775 in round 1. No takedown upside. The highest price on the slate. For all those reasons, I don't love it, but she will be the lowest owned, which is why I was trying to talk myself into a little. But yeah, 20 teams or less. I think you're right. I'm going to fade it too. Let's get to the next fight, a fight I most definitely will not fade. Rodolfo Vieira minus 265 over Andre Petrosky, who's plus 225, minus 175 for this fight to finish, minus 115 for Rodolfo, plus 450 for Petrosky. I think you said you weren't sure if you had a second favorite fight on this card, who would be. I think this would be my second favorite fight. A lot of it just has to do right here. 3.91 takedowns per 15 for Petrosky, 4.18 for Rodolfo. But at the end of the day, I just think Rodolfo finds a sub at some point, and takedowns, top control, and eventually a sub. Doesn't always score great. Like third round, second round might not be enough for the price. But if he wins, I think he scores solid and he doesn't break the bank. I can go Zalal down to Vieira, leave 600 plus, and be totally fine leaving a team like that. Almost preferred, actually. I do prefer Rodolfo to Zalal in a vacuum. Petrosky's side, if he wins, is it like the fluffy fight? Does Petrosky just wear out Rodolfo? He gets tired and Petrosky somehow gets a garbage finish or a lot of pitter-patter strikes? Regardless, whatever it is, if he wins, I feel confident on him being optimal at 7,400. 2 wrestlers, fight expected to finish. I think this would be my second favorite, but I'm not confident in it, which just shows like this card relative to last card, you knew the fights that would score then, or at least you thought you did, and most of them did. This card, you could poke holes in plenty of the fights outside of the main event.
Yeah, like this one, I don't even know what to expect. Both guys do prefer to be on the ground. I think Vieira's the much more dangerous submission artist, but Petrosky, in my opinion, is the better wrestler. And he can hold on to that wrestling more throughout 3 rounds. But both guys are kind of gas bags. I trust Petrosky's tank more. Like he fights through the fatigue more, in my opinion. But after, like, I don't know that Petrosky wants to wrestle at all in this fight. I'd be a little scared of Vieira on the ground, even if he's on his back. I think this could turn into the slowest paced striking match on the card, which neither one of them are on the optimal. If it is a striking match and one of them doesn't fall over, that's my worry. I mean, that's an easy 1 star if that's going to be the case. Sure. But I do think Vieira will be going for takedowns in the first round. I think he is live for a first round submission. So Vieira's my preferred play. But I'd be fine with 20 to 45% on the Vieira side, and on the Petrosky side, even lower, like 10 to 30, somewhere in there, I'd be okay with. But my worry is that this fight takes place on the feet more so than on the ground. And I think that's a big possibility.
Yeah, it makes sense. When you get two wrestlers going at it, we've seen it plenty of times in the past. Wrestling negates itself. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I'm not by no means going to make a rule outside of the main event to lock any fight. Like, you can poke holes in all of them. I think Marley did, and I'd probably say it's my second favorite fight. And it's a clear path. If neither of them wrestles, it's not going to be a fight you want, unless some fluky Jacob Malkoun knocks Petrosky out with his hip or something absolutely crazy like that. It's not going to be a fight that you want if it stays on the feet. So Vieira, my preferred side in that one. Next fight, another good one to target. Edmund Shabazian, minus 405. Dylan Bucka, plus 305. Minus 200 for this fight to finish. Shabazian, minus 150 inside the distance. Bucka, plus 600. I think Edmund's better everywhere. The line, I guess, reflects that. Are you playing any Bucka if you play 20 teams or less?
I'm not playing any Bucka if I play 150 teams. I'm never going to play Bucka. But this is going to be the last chance he gets anyways. Yeah, I think he's terrible. He's got a wrestling game against people who don't know what wrestling is. But I think his striking is terrible. He doesn't do anything. Even when he does get takedowns, he doesn't do anything. So this is Shabazian or pass for me, and I think Shabazian should smoke this dude early. So I do want Shabazian in my lineups. Like, the worry with Edmund is that he gasses out and then his opponent takes over. But I mean, Butka's not gassing anybody out, and he's not gonna fucking take over either if Edmund does slow down. So yeah, Butka's a pure fade for me for life. And I'll take Shabazian to get a first round finish.
I love it. I had Buck as a fade too. He has cheeks. If Edmund doesn't win this fight, he's got a lot of problems on his hands. There's no doubt about that. Appreciate the laugh. That was a good one. 3 fights left. Yeah, everyone, like button, subscribe button. Very much appreciate it. Bringing you shows on this channel almost every single day. And also, if you're not a part of the nation, you want to join us, ShipItNation.com. Use that promo code SHIP50. Gets you $50 off your first month with Shiptimizer. $99 that usually is, takes you all the way down to $49. Big weekend on tap. We got PGA Showdown. GS Luke was just on the channel. Showdown content right here under PGA. You can check out MMA, of course. So we're talking NHL and NBA. So it's not as big of a week as I thought, actually. NASCAR Daytona 500. That's what was in my head. Saturday MMA, Sunday NASCAR. 100K to first on both. NBA All-Star break, though. NHL, I don't know if it's All-Star break, if it's like an international thing someone said, but hey, we got PGA Showdown, MMA, and NASCAR. That's big boy prizes. If you sign up for the monthly, NBA and NHL will be back in that time. Again, Shiptimizer, MMA, you also get with Ship 50, $50 off. All right, 3 fights left. Big Marley, the next fight on the card. The other Bonfim brother, Ismail Bonfim, taking on Nazim Sadikov, minus 220 Bonfim. Plus 185 Sadikov, plus 110 for this fight to finish. Bonfim plus 260 inside the distance. Sadikov plus 280. This is the second of 2 fights in the mid-tier. It was the women's fight, Hill Souza, and then Bonfim Sadikov. Again, it's favored to go the distance. I agree with the 3-star. I don't know what to expect in this fight. I looked at underdog, the takedown props. I was like, who do you think is more likely to wrestle in this one?
Bonfim.
Sadikov had a takedown prop of 1.5. Bonfim didn't have any takedown props. I found that a little interesting. I think Bonfim's probably the better. In my opinion. That's what I thought. 1.5 it felt a little high. I think it's a pretty close fight. Seeing the 1.5 prop and then also the same inside the distance prop and him being 600 less, all of that led me to my preferred side being the Sadikov. I can go main event, Vince Morales, plug in guys, build a Bonfim, take Bonfim out, go to Sadikov. I'm fine doing that on this card. That's one way to get different. Looking at inside the distance props, just the takedown, they have similar upside. The problem is, like, if this fight just stays on the feet for 15 minutes, I don't think it scores. Do you see either guy baking them? Do you see a lot of wrestling upside on either side? I don't really know what to do with this one. I don't love it, but I'm like forced to play it like everyone else is.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say it's probably closer to a 2-star because I think it primarily takes place on the feet, and I think it goes all 3 rounds. I think either guy could mix in 1 or 2 takedowns. But I mean, the only thing I really like about it is that it could be a fun fight, and they're right there in that mid range, so they fit well. But yeah, I have no idea how this one's going to play out, and I feel like they're both playing for 10x kind of. So I'm not going to make it a point to target it. It's probably more of an MME fight where I let the shiptimizer take over. It can put in however much it wants, up to like 25 on each side, I'd say. But with hand builds, I'm looking to click other fights instead. It's like a 2-star for hand builds, I'd say. But
That
give me Sadikov because of the line. I thought it was closer to a pick 'em when I was going over it, so I was like, I'd rather take my chances on the underdog. In my opinion, this plays out so close that we don't know who's going to win when they read off the split decision. But anytime they're going to read off a split decision, give me the plus 175 over the minus 200.
Unless it's tied to Ivasa versus Rosenstruck.
Oh man, yeah. Well, luckily I had Rosenstruck in that one, and then I just lost it all last weekend. Fucking, or whenever it was when he lost to Pavlovich 2 weekends ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, with that decision only prop, man, unreal.
I thought of you during that too. That was brutal.
Oh.
Couldn't have literally none of that could have went any worse for you. Pavlovich wrestling because Rosenstruck fell. He falls in round 1. Pav ends up on top and is like, this dude has nothing off his back. Let's do it again and again. And yeah, that was bad. But Sadikov my preferred side. I think the line's wide, but I don't love this fight. Majority of my builds will be stars and scrubs this week. And that's again why I think 75 from a dog could be enough, because I don't think the mid-tier scores a bunch. If Sadikov or Bonfim scores 100 plus, 75 probably isn't enough as a dog. It could be if one dog wins and you need that fight. And that's how the salary works out. But I'll be more stars and scrubs than playing the 2 mid-tier fights. I'm with you, though. I do prefer dog in this one. 2 fights left. Crazy to see this one. As you see, minus 425 uses Zalal. I put that Tuesday. Now it's minus 525 Zalal, plus 400 Calvin Kattar, plus 160 for this fight to finish. Zalal plus 215 inside the distance. Kattar plus 600. Tell you these lines 3 years ago, Big Marley, you are putting all the cheese, the house, the kids. You are putting everything on Calvin Kattar. Yusuf Zalal, second stint back, though, 3-0, 3 finishes. He's looking good. And Calvin Kattar on the other side, not looking good. But, I mean, level of competition still night and day between the two. I always like these fights for you because, I mean, you look at how you should, like line movement, probability, etc. And I feel like more times than not, you like these big prices on guys that you think are still solid fighters. Is this one that you think this line's too wide and you're going to play some Kattar?
I definitely think this line's too wide. I don't know how much Kattar I'm going to get to, though, because I don't see him dominating the fight at all. I do think if he wins, it's going to be a close fight that takes place on the feet. But yeah, he's a good boxer and he strikes at a high pace at a high level. So if this is a 15-minute striking match, I feel like it's a toss-up, damn near.
Yeah.
Zalal's on his way up. Kattar looks on his way down, but he's not old enough for me to just think he's going to be washed. And Zalal, he's not beating Kattar type of competition. So I think it's way closer than the line indicates. But if Kattar wins, he might not even 10x a $6,800 price tag because he could get taken down once or twice. But it's probably real close if Kattar does win. So I'd rather get a few people down there. Chaos, who we talked about, I'd rather have him. I think I'd rather have Aguilar because, in my opinion, he has more 100-point upside or like 90-point upside. I'd rather play Vince if it wasn't for all the ownership. I'd probably rather play Petrosky. So, yeah, I just don't see me clicking on Kattar much, but I definitely won't be Xing him out. And then I'm not clicking on Zalal. I don't see me paying $9,400 for him when I don't see him being able to get 8 takedowns like Aljo against Kattar. And I don't think he's going to look like a minus 400 favorite if this fight takes place on the feet. So I'm not paying $9,400 on this card. I'm not paying $9,500 on this card. So that's another reason why I said I'm going to be overweight on Walker. Like, if I can afford $9,500, let me just leave that money on the table and go down to Walker instead. So I'll do that for him. I'll do that for Vieira, Shabazi, and all those guys. We got a couple. We skipped one, right? Yeah, we got to hit that Delgado fight.
Oh, my bad.
I like Delgado too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like all those guys you mentioned more than those two top guys as well, or female and guy. And like, I don't love Zalal. I don't like Cater either. I don't like this fight much. You have it as a 2-star. I agree. I think Zalal wins. Even if he wins, though, like, he's finished and got 99. Like, that's probably not enough on this card. These favorites have big boy upside. So not a fight I like much at all. Next fight on the card, I'm sorry I did miss it. We're circling all the way back to 2 fights before. Jose Delgado, minus 425. Conor Matthews, plus 325. Minus 180 for this fight to finish. And that opened minus 150. So money on the under. Delgado, minus 125 inside the distance. Matthews, plus 480. Both these dudes get some line movements for their inside the distance prop. I mean, Delgado looks really strong. Minus 125 to finish. Only 9K. Big favorites. Definitely going that way. Matthews, I'm definitely playing him. He's leveraged off a chalkier Delgado at low ownership in what I think is a high-paced fight. Maybe this is even better than the Vieira Petrosky. I was debating between those two, but yeah, I'm playing both sides for sure. What about you?
Yeah, I think this would be my second favorite fight. On the Conor Matthews side, like a $7,200 price tag for his style is good because typically he starts out fast. He can get a lot of finishes in the first round. He's a decent grappler. He's got solid chokes in his game, but that's like against regional scene competition, which I don't really think Delgado is. I was kind of impressed with Delgado. Delgado's got chokes of his own. I think he is the more aggressive striker. I think he's the more dangerous striker, and he's the one who I think is going to put it together for this, I guess, for the same pace throughout 3 rounds, where I think Matthews would be more likely to slow down. So I do prefer Delgado. I'm picking him to win. I think he's going to get a knockout, but I like both sides of this fight. If Matthews does win, I think he outscores Morales in a win also. Like, if they both win, I think Matthews outscores them. But I just think Morales wins a lot more often than Matthews. So however you want to look at it, like if you want to go ownership with not as high of a ceiling or a higher ceiling but half his own, I don't know. I probably like the Matthews side a little bit more personally. But give me Delgado as one of my guys that I'm looking to pay up for, like 9K. I think he could get a 3rd round finish and pay off that 9K. But I'm looking forward to him. I think he's an exciting fighter and he's dangerous.
I like it. I'm going to play some Delgado, probably a decent amount. I'm going to play a good amount of Matthews relative to the field because, again, I think Delgado gets ownership too. So not only do you get a high upside fighter if he wins, you get leverage. A lot of the field would die if Delgado or if Matthews wins. So you get that double leverage. Definitely a spot I'm looking to attack on this card. Last fight, Big Marley. Again, I appreciate every single one watching. So many watch on playback. Like and subscribe. Just takes 2 seconds. It really does help out. If you have any hot takes, I always like looking at the YouTube comments. Drop your favorite dog. Who's going to be the highest scorer? Whatever you feel. Always like to see people's thoughts. Main event, Gregory Rodrigues, minus 230, taking on Jared Cannonier, plus 195. Minus 325 for this fight to finish now. Minus 265 on Tuesday. Now minus 325. Money in the under. Rodrigues minus 130 inside the distance. Cannonier plus 260. I'm having 100% of this fight in 20 teams or less. Probably 50 teams or less. Maybe 75. I mean, not only is it the highest to finish, you have the extra 2 rounds. The pricing, 86, 76. Both guys got a lot of power. Both guys have been knocked out multiple times. I guess I'll throw it to you. Do you think Gregory Rodrigues wrestles at all? And if he does he have success? Cannonier, solid takedown defense. But yeah, are you going to have 100% as well?
Yeah, definitely 20 or less, 100%. I would consider 100% with 150 also. But I do think Rodrigues will wrestle. I think he should wrestle. I'm a little biased. I don't think I've ever picked against Rodrigues. I really like his game. I think is the better striker in this fight. I think he's the more dangerous striker. But he's got a huge edge on the ground. And it's just if he decides to use it or not, that's the worry. And then his chin is a worry also. Cannonier's a big dude, solid striking. I think if it's a 25-minute striking match, I don't really know who's going to win that. It could be either way. But a knockout puts Cannonier on the optimal lineup in any round. And I think you got to worry about that with Rodriguez's chin. But that's why he should wrestle. You're not worried when you're on the ground, and you should look like a minus 300 favorite if you do wrestle. If he wrestles, I think he could win all 5 rounds with 1 or more takedowns. And I also think he could get a submission or even like flatten him out and get a ground and pound stoppage in any round. So Rodrigues is going to be my highest owned guy on the entire card, but I'd probably throw Cannonier in any lineups that I don't have him in, just more of a hedge. But for me, it's like 75-25, I'm thinking.
I would be fine with 75-25. I'd be fine with 60-40, though. Like, I think Cannonier can land the big shot. And we've seen Gregory Rodrigues knocked out Bruno Ferreira round 1. And I think he'll be lower owned, and it's easier to leave more salary. So, like, in chalkier lineups, maybe I'm more likely to play Cannonier with Vince Morales and leave money, little things like that. But, yeah, Gregory Rodrigues is my preferred side. I do think he wins. I do think he gets the knockouts. Been tough past 2 fights for Cannonier. He's fighting the best in the world, though. There's no shame in these losses. He is 40, though, taking a good amount of damage. Rodrigues hits hard and has a massive grappling advantage for sure. Big Marley, that's 13 fights, 4 p.m. Eastern in the Apex. Final thoughts for the people. Nice work as always.
Yeah, this is my workout partner right there in the chat.
Yeah, he does. Let's go.
But yeah, I think hopefully this will be a good card. I'm actually going to be with Justin there. We're going to see Wheezy. We're going to be at this beer fest with
Nice.
Uncle Wheezy. So looking forward to hanging out with him as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good DFS card. Hopefully one that we can win a bunch of money on as well. But good luck to you, Title. Good luck to everybody listening. Let's ship it.
Hey, I love that. You enjoy your weekend. Shout out to Justin. Shout out to Wheezy. You enjoy some nice beer. I didn't peg you as a beer guy. I thought you'd more be a cocktail or a Claus or seltzer.
Actually, I haven't had a sip of anything all year, actually. So these beers might put me on my ass. We'll see. But it was more, I heard Wheezy talking about it. He said, hey, I'll be out there in Indiana. And he said what it was about. And I said, I never heard of that. Let's give it a go. So it's always fun hanging out with Wheezy. I've met him before. He's a good guy to talk with for a while. So I think it'll be a good time.
Awesome. You enjoyed that, and hopefully you have a little extra money in your pocket at the end of the day. Pay for all the drinks. See you at the top. Hopefully you see some SHIPIT Nation logo up top. Again, if you want to join us, SHIP50 is the promo code. Gets you $50 off your first month with Shiptimizer. $99 takes you down to $49. All of the content will be up tomorrow. Projections, ownership, slate plan, fight rankings, completed stone, etc. Good luck this week in Big Marley. I will see you next Thursday. Plenty of UFC to come. I think it's like 10 in a row or something. Ready for a lot of fights, ready for a lot of money. For Big Marley, I'm Titletown. Good luck out there. Be safe. Peace.